Well, welcome, Maiah Wynne. It has been a long time coming, but I'm so happy to finally interview her. Maiah Wynne is not only a fantastic artist, she's going to tell you about her past, but the reason I had an interest to begin with was this wonderful album that she's a part of, which is Envy of None. And it's probably going to be my second favorite album of the year. It is just breathlessly wonderful. And Maiah Wynne is here to talk with us at Progressive Rock Central. We're very grateful for the time and effort she's put into this. Envy of None released this debut album on April 8th, 2022 on K-Scope and Snapper Records. And if you haven't picked it up by now, I don't know where you are, but wake up and get this. It is unbelievable. So first of all, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your past as a musician. And I realize you live in Oregon. Tell us a little bit about where you're at there, and I'm going to shut up and let you talk.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm so glad you're enjoying the record. My name's Maya, and I'm actually based in Portland, Oregon, so not too far away from the San Juan Islands. And um, yeah, I've just been really enjoying being a part of Envy of None and being the singer and getting to know these guys, and I'm so happy to be here with you today.
All right, thank you. Tell us a little bit about your past as a musician before Envy of None, and then we're going to talk a little bit about. I definitely want your perspective on how you reached out to Alex Lifeson and all that. But tell us a little bit about you first of all.
Yeah, I've always loved music and had a knack for it pretty early on in my life, and I started on piano when I was around 3 years old, and then when I was around 12, I started teaching myself the drums and then guitar, and then it sort of blossomed from there, and I've taught myself about 15 other instruments since then. And I started
See a
writing.
lot of them in back of her.
Yeah, that's right. My room is full of them. It's kind of a mess, actually. Honestly, there's too many instruments. I've got a problem at this point. um, but yeah, no, I started writing music when I was around 13 as well. I wrote instrumental pieces before then. I remember when I was like 7 playing at piano recitals and writing my own little instrumental pieces for that. But I started writing songs with lyrics and singing when I was around 13, and just really developed a passion for it. And it kind of became this really big part of my life. And when I was around 16, I decided to pursue it more seriously. I started playing shows in coffee shops and bars. And I was living in Montana at the time, and um, it sort of became my lifeline, which I think is something a lot of musicians have in common, is that music sort of helped them through the hardest parts of their life, and was their lifeline, and that thing that they could hold on to and focus on. And that's definitely what it was for me for most of my adolescent life, and it still is, and I just love it, and I love creating, and yeah, and I'm still doing it, which I'm really happy about.
And I'm probably going to post some of the videos with this link. But if you ever go see her live, she actually plays a lot of these instruments at the same time. And that takes a special talent. So that in itself is amazing to see. So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
How do you balance? I guess I got to ask, how do you balance all that? How do you remember? I mean, I'm very good with lyrics. I can remember lyrics pretty good, but trying to remember notes on, guitar and drum beats all at the same time. How do you do it?
It's definitely muscle memory. If I think about it too much, it all just falls apart. So I have to really just memorize it, and then my limbs can do it without me really thinking about it. But it's a delicate balance. I definitely leaned on my ability to remember lyrics for a long time, and then after COVID and not playing shows for a while, I did a show and realized suddenly I didn't remember a lot of things that I really needed to practice again and get back into the swing of things. But I just got back from a tour and it really sort of helped me jump back into it and remember all of the things I had sort of forgotten.
Yeah. Well, all right. Tell us a little bit. Like I say, I want to hear from your perspective. I heard Andy's perspective on it. I did an interview with Andy Curran earlier in the year, but uh, tell us how you connected with Alex Lifeson and shared your music, your singing with him, and how that whole thing went.
Yeah, it was a really funny set of coincidences. Actually, I ended up winning a song contest um, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. Um, and it was a cover song contest. And one of my prizes was a Zoom mentorship call with Andy Curran. And, I sort of did a quick Google search about him and I thought he was just sort of an A&R guy based in Canada. It said he worked at this music company, and I was like, okay, so he's an industry guy, and I mostly asked him music industry related questions on our Zoom call, but we got along really well. And as you know, he's just a really nice guy, super
Very
easy to
nice.
talk to, and um, just really charming and nice. And so it was really easy to just talk to him and ask him questions. And I had a song that he really liked, and it was a collaboration that I had done with my co-producer, and it was more industrial and different than most of my other stuff. And he's like, I really like this song. You should keep doing stuff like this. And he started to tell me about a project he was working on for himself that had a similar vibe to it. And he had mentioned something in that time frame about how they were working with different singers and trying to find different people. And so I was, not really thinking much about it. I was just like, oh, well, if you ever need a singer, let me know. And maybe, we could work on something. And again, at this point, I just thought he was like an industry, A&R guy. Um,
You didn't realize he played with kind of Coney had
no, not at all. I didn't, I
toured with
was
Rush. And, yeah, I
very
didn't
oblivious.
know a lot of it either. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously he has an amazing career behind him, and also, is always working on music. And but I just, it was just for fun. I was like, yeah, let's just work on some music together. And so he took me up on the offer, and we started working on some songs. And then sort of 3 songs into it, he called me up one day and was like, hey, so I showed this to my buddy Alex and he loves it. He wants to play some guitars on it. Again, I had no context at that point.
Who
And then,
Alex was.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He just took,
Yeah.
and then I think he realized, and he took a moment. He's like, do you know the guitarist Alex Lifeson from Rush? And I think my mind just exploded because, my dad is a huge Rush fan. My mom is a huge Rush fan.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up listening to Rush. And so it was just the weirdest, most surreal moment for me because I was so oblivious up until that moment. And I was like, how did these two things come together? But of course, Andy was that person that brought all of those pieces together. And he's worked with Alex for a long time, and they're really good friends. And then of course, as we started working together more, I got to know more about Andy's career, and I listened to Coney Hatch, and got to see some of his hairband. Old hairband videos, which I love to watch. This
Yeah.
great, awesome hair, and he's just a great guy, and he's so talented, and it's just been really, really cool to work with him. And it's been also just really fun to see and get to know these guys, and the careers that they've had, and get to ask them questions, and get sort of a behind the curtains look into what that's been like for them, as I'm sort of entering my own career. And so that's been really, really cool to have their wisdom.
Well, you brought something else up. Now I got to ask you about that. Yeah, I know you've met Alex, but did you introduce Alex to your parents? Your parents probably were like, "You gotta get us into an chance
I
to
haven't
talk."
yet. I have plans.
Oh, okay.
So I'm hoping that if we ever do an Envy of None show, I'll get to introduce him to my parents. I did have him sign one of our test pressings of the Envy of None record. I had everybody sign it and
Oh,
address it to my parents, and I gave that to them, which I think they were very happy about. And
yeah,
honestly, like, I still remember telling my dad about it for the first time. I don't think he believed me when I first told him. I was like, "Hey,
yeah.
Dad, guess who I'm working with?" And I'm sure he thought I was being like swindled. Somebody was lying to me or something, or I was just really confused. But um, I think that was a really cool moment for me in my career to, my parents were always worried about me following music as a career choice because it's a really hard industry. And so I think that was one of the first moments I could be like, hey, I'm doing something big, and I can do this for real.
Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. And so you guys got along real well. And obviously, he loved your voice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. But that in itself is a wonderful compliment that he was like, yeah, she is going to be the voice of this band. And yeah, excellent. Let's talk about that debut album. And one of the things when I first bought it and first heard it, or first when they sent it to me as a demo, I was like, "Oh my god!" And it starts very much with that opener, "Never Said I Love You," and I'm like, "This isn't Rush." But it's good. It's good. No, I mean, I'm a Rush fan, and I'm sure there's a lot of Rush fans that are envy of none fans now. But at the time, they were like, "This isn't Rush," and it was, but it was for me, like I say, it was a fantastic. It's like good, good. He didn't, go down the same road and try to retread or something. He picked something brand new and made it his own, really. And well, along with you and then the rest of the band, of course. But tell us about that first song. And the video is incredible. Well, I'm throwing a lot of questions at once, but I got to ask you because it drove me nuts trying to figure out what city was it? Was it Toronto or?
But actually no, they filmed that one I think in London. The
Oh, okay.
So the label helped put the video together for Never Said I Love You, and they found a director and a dancer in London, which is where the label's based out of. So I think that they filmed that in London, and um yeah, and they did a great job with it. I love the movement of it, and um the lead dancer and actress in that video, she did a really great job, and um so props to her. I wish I could remember her name right now, but she did a really good job.
But tell us about that song, about you developing the song and your role in it. You are it. I mean, you are the. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so. Each of the songs on that album had a slightly different approach to it. Early on, Andy had sent me a big file of sort of song doodles, is what I would call them. They're like 1 minute long, 2 minute long pieces with just music, instrumentation, and they all had very different vibes to them. And I started going through them, and if I started to have ideas for one, I would say, "Oh, I think I could work on this one." And some of them he had like short little vocal ideas, or hooks, a little part of a chorus here, or just like a three-word phrase that was similar to the name of the song. So for "Never Said I Love You," he had a part of that chorus. "I never said I love you. I never said I want to make you mine." Um, and I think he had it in a different spot, and I just loved the energy of that track. It immediately got my attention. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And he and Alf had already put in some really cool instrumentation to it, um, and it just had those synths and that driving beat. And I started working on that one pretty early on, and I had a lot of ideas for it. And so I wrote lyrics for it. I finished the chorus, and I moved it actually to a different spot, so it really emphasized that beat when it comes in.
Yes.
Um, and I wrote the rest of the lyrics, wrote the verses and the pre-choruses, and it really came together pretty fast. And I remember sending them my early recordings of it, and I had two different ideas for a pre-chorus, and they were like, "Well, let's just use both of them." So that's why there's two sort of different pre-choruses, and um, yeah, it was really fun and came together really quickly. And we recorded the final vocals together in Toronto when I came and visited the first time, and that was really fun. It was one of my first times in a bigger recording studio, and that was exciting.
Oh, definitely. How do you sing the song a little bit? Because I noticed today I was reading some of your Facebook stuff, and you mentioned that you use the song. It's one of the songs that you use in your solo show. Um, how different does it sound in your solo show?
Pretty different. As a one woman band, it's hard to recreate all of those amazing textures and layers. But I do my best. It's definitely more stripped down. When I play it with my band, we do it pretty similar to the original. But when it's just me, I either do electric guitar or sometimes even ukulele and really strip
That
it
would be
down, make it very
interesting.
acoustic. Um, but yeah, it's hard for me to not miss the guys every time I do that song without them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and from what I remember Andy saying, Alex did all sorts of weird, I shouldn't say weird, but different things with the guitar to make some of those. Because I asked him, was that all keyboard? And he said, no, Alex just did something different, running maybe the uh, guitar through a programmer or something like that. But
Mhm.
he created all those, sounds, and it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, he did so much. Like there are layers that sound like synths,
Yeah.
and layers that sound like strings. And he just did so many different interesting things. Layers that sound like bass, and he even did in certain songs he did like layers of banjo and acoustic guitar and mandala, and he just did so many different things. And I think his main goal with this project was to create textures that didn't sound like guitars with guitars, and Alf actually did a lot of the sort of more straightaway guitar pieces, and Alf killed it. Like he's an incredible guitarist, and I think Alex really liked that, that the sort of expected guitar pieces were already there, and he could play around with textures and do different things, and you know use his instrument in a different way, and that's what I really admire about him, is that he's always looking to do something new and different and try something and expand um, what he does. And I think that's, the mark of a true artist. And it's really cool to see.
Definitely. It would have been so easy just to come out with something that sounded just like Rush. And so many from his generation and generations before that do that. Why change the mold? Everyone likes this. Let's just come out. And he definitely did. He's created something brand new. Shadow is a deep and dark, but has a wonderful sound to it. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of that song.
Yeah, so that was actually the first song that we worked on together. So I recorded my ideas for that first, and that was us sort of seeing how we worked together. It was before Alex even joined and started recording stuff. And um, that was the first one
You
that
and
sort of,
Andy.
yeah, me and
Yeah.
Andy and Alf,
Okay.
and they had sort of worked on these song ideas together when they sent them to me, and so I that was the first one that really caught my ear, and I started recording ideas for, um and I remember that sending it back and being super nervous because it was the first time, and I was like, I don't know, maybe they'll hate it, and but I felt really good about it, and it was exciting for me because that was sort of the beginning of my journey in learning how to record myself and produce, and as we've worked together, I've been taking classes on music production and getting better at recording myself as well. And so it's cool for me to sort of think back at that time when we just started this collaboration, and how much I've grown in my own journey as a musician and producer. And it's just really cool for me to look back on. But I've always loved that song, and I played some keys in that one as well. We put a keyboard through a guitar amp, put some distortion on it, and I did some spooky sounds on that, and that was
Hey,
pretty
yeah,
cool. But I loved how that one turned out. And then, of course, when Alex added his layers at the end of it, it just sent it to a whole nother place, and it was really cool.
definitely. Look Inside is a real deep dive inside the mind of a person and their internal functioning. Functioning. The video is unbelievable. How much fun was that to make that? And you make a lot of videos of your own, but this was like highly produced, and
Hmm.
you could tell, they put put you guys in the studio and put that whole
Mm.
thing together. What was that like? It
It was
must have,
really fun. We
yeah.
actually we didn't have a lot of time to really plan it. I was in Toronto for like a week, and Andy was like, "Let's just shoot something." And um I got to borrow some clothes from both Andy and Alex's wives lended
Oh,
me
goodness.
clothes.
Yeah. Wow.
I did bring some wardrobe and stuff. We tried to plan out as much as we could, and it was a really good team of people, and it just turned out really cool. It was really fun. We found this really great place that had really cool locations that just really grabbed your eye,
Yeah.
um, and it turned out really great, and it was really fun to film. And at that point I had just dyed my hair, so it was like I felt like a totally different person, and it was just really fun to sort of step into that different mindset. And Alex had been really sweet. He sort of gave me some pointers on being a little bit more bold, because I'm a pretty quiet person, and I can be pretty timid sometimes, and so it was nice to sort of, I think the red hair helped me be a little bit more confident,
Mm,
which was
yeah.
nice.
Alter your personality. Interesting.
Yeah.
Liar was the second single. And that video features the two ladies that are on the album cover. Um, who was in charge of creating the album cover design? And please tell us the story behind the two ladies. I mean, there's people compare it to The Shining. I've heard it compared to so many different things, but you tell me where that inspiration came from.
It
It's
is
great.
weirdly spooky. So that was actually, it's a kind of a team effort. Andy had found this company called Plastic, and they do a lot of sort of images like that are just sort of striking and interesting. And we had been talking about trying to figure out what we were going to do for our cover image for a while. And he had looked through their catalog, um, and sent us the link, and we all kind of looked through it. And that was the one photo that everybody agreed on. Um, and David Steinberg, who played drums on quite a few songs on the record, and is also an amazing lawyer. He helped us sort of obtain the rights to use the photo, and so Plastic let us use it, and uh, it's so striking, and I think
Yeah.
it's a great album cover. Honestly, I'm really glad they let us use it. But originally, it was a promotional photo for a purse company. So they were originally
Okay.
holding purses on those platters. But it's just like the look in their eyes is
Yeah.
so, it just grabs your attention, and you're like, what is going on here? It's kind of spooky, but which is
Yeah.
great because the music's kind of spooky. Um, yeah, it turned out really great. And I'm glad that was the direction we took, because I think it's a good fit for for the music.
Everything's different, and why not the artwork? Yeah, absolutely. And it'll probably be like a iconic artwork in the future for album covers when they do, greatest album covers. I think this will probably be in there in this time frame as completely different from everything else.
I
Uh,
hope so. That would be really cool. I hope we can find the models someday, the two cover models, because I still have no idea who they are.
that would be
Someday.
cool. That would really be cool. Yeah, if they could bring it back. Spy House, tell us a little bit about that song. That is another, well, they're all interesting, but that one is very
It is.
mysterious.
It is. It was probably the most challenging song on the record for me, to add lyrics to and add vocals to. Alex had originally written that as an instrumental piece. It was one of his songs that he added to the record, um, and it was sort of my challenge then to find vocals and lyrics that felt like they fit with it, and I all I had was the title, which was Spy House, which he told me I think he just looked up and took a book title and named it Spy House. um, and so I was trying to, find lyrics that felt like they went with that and the music, and it's such a short and very full and amazing instrumental piece already, and I just didn't want to step on what was already there, and it was really challenging. I had a lot of first tries that I hated and ended up scrapping, and nobody ever heard them because I was just like, this is terrible. Like, I gotta try again. And I was so frustrated for a while because it was like it seemed on the surface like it should be easy, but it really wasn't. And you know, it's deceivingly complex, you know, and that's Alex. He's a very complex musician,
Yeah.
and even on the surface, if it seems not so, it really is complex. And trying to find notes that fit with everything and supported everything, and um, but I think we figured it out in the end, and we ended up taking out extra lyrics that felt like they were just crowding it, and where it ended up, I think, was this sort of perfect balance of like interesting and intriguing and supporting that song title and the movement of the music, and yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out, but it's definitely weird, and I like that it's weird.
Yeah. A dog's life. And yeah, really it is. Especially after 2 years of the global pandemic, we went through all of that. And just daily work and stuff like that. I know it felt that way today when I was having to work before I finally got this, the fun part of the day when I get to interview and talk with you. What everyone has that feeling of a dog's life, you know, having to do the work that we all have to do. How did you boil it down so well and put together the lyrics for that? Because it just nails
Thank you.
it.
That was definitely one that just kind of came pouring out of me. You know, I've been working really hard. I think we've all been, like you said, we've all been working so hard, and but as I was writing that, especially, I was feeling just really overwhelmed with work, and you know, and I think with creative passions, especially, you put so much of your heart into things, and so much of that work doesn't always pan out to much, and I think that can be really disheartening, and you know, and that's where that line, "You do it for the love, I do it for the love," came from. Is that like at the end of the day, that's why I have to remind myself that's why I'm doing this, because it sucks and it's hard, and
Work
it
is
hurts, and it's work, and you feel so beat down and discouraged at times, and I think I was especially feeling that when I wrote that, and I was also a little frustrated because, you know, I think I get a lot of judgment in my life for my voice. I think, you know, as a creative person who's putting their art out there, you know, you get a lot of unsolicited feedback, but I get a lot of feedback from people who want me to be more aggressive and louder, um, you know, and I've been through
don't
a lot.
listen.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing
Yeah.
perfectly.
But I wanted a song where I could just, you know, let loose a little bit, and the chorus was actually originally even more loud, and I brought a couple of my friends and we just screamed, and if you listen closely, there's some screaming at the end, and I wanted a song where I could, you know, prove those people wrong, and also let all of these frustrated emotions out, because it's so frustrating when you're putting your heart into something and putting so much work into something only to receive negative feedback from people, and you know, and I think I was just holding on to a lot of that and just let it all out in that song.
You could feel it. No, you could definitely feel that in your emotions and
Yeah.
the way you sing. Cabo Blues. When I talked about Andy about this, he mentioned Ben was trying to raise money to help. Uh, Actually, no, that's Enemy, where they were you were trying to help the Ukrainian people. So we'll come back to Cabo Blues, or you can. I think you use Cabo Blues too, but let's jump into Enemy. I jumped ahead. How did that go? I know you raised a lot of money. Are you still, as a group, working to raise money for the Ukrainian people? We're talking about the song Enemy. And if you haven't heard, well, the whole album, but Enemy, it is perfect, perfectly placed for what's going on in Ukraine. And they put together, wasn't an EP for just that song, a
Hmm.
single, I think, and you sold those to help raise money for the Ukrainian people to help them hold on to their country. But how's that going? Is it still doing well? And people,
Yeah, no, it was really incredible, honestly. You know, I remember when the news broke out about that. Um, I think we were all really just devastated, and I mean, the state of the world has been so heartbreaking, for lack of better words. Not just with what's going on in the Ukraine, but with what's going on in Iran right now, and all over the world. And there's just so many heartbreaking things that are happening, and it feels like it's easy to feel helpless. It's easy to feel like you can't do anything to help. It's easy to feel like it's overwhelming. And I think when the news broke out about Ukraine, I remember Alex messaging me and checking in with me. He's a very sweet person, and I could tell he was very bothered and upset about the situation, and as we all were. And it got me thinking, well, maybe we should do something. I feel like we could do something. We have a platform with this music, and I feel like we could do something with it. And so I pitched Alex that we could do a fundraiser with one of the songs, and that Enemy seemed like the song to do that with. And he took that to Andy, and Andy took it to the label, and it was just really, really cool to see the overwhelming amount of support from so many different people. Even the company that pressed the vinyl donated all of that vinyl, which is just
Wow.
an incredible donation from them. And they got it out really quickly, at a time where there's a huge vinyl shortage, because everybody wanted to do this and help. And we ended up raising over $100,000. And it was just, it really was amazing to see how much people wanted to help and come together to do something. And I think we needed that. I think a lot of people needed that focus at that time, because, like I said, it's just so easy to be overwhelmed and feel defeated about things. And so to have something to focus on, to know that you're doing good things, um, and all of that money is going to, I think it's the UNHCR, but they're doing amazing work with refugees, and helping all of the displaced families and people and refugees. And so it's they're doing really good work, and they're the people who are actually helping people. You can't really,
Good.
we're raising the money, but they're the ones who are actually doing the work and helping a lot of people. So it was really, really cool to be able to help in some way.
And everyone hopefully remembers the beginning of the war and all the people that were going to Poland and all sorts of other countries just to get away from what was coming. So yeah, definitely that really, thank you. Thank you. Thank everyone in the group for doing that. But it's continuing. You guys haven't stopped. They're still collecting money and sending it.
Yes, I believe so. I
Good.
th- I
Good.
think, I know we did that run of vinyl. I don't know if they're still for sale or not, but I think we're still collecting and transferring money. I know we just, like, a month ago, did the big donation of all of those funds, and we had a Zoom call with them, and they were really sweet. And it was just nice to get to talk with them and hear a little bit more about what they're doing. And it just seemed like really good people. So it was nice to have that moment. And as I think, Alex is very philanthropic, and has done a lot for different charities, and he's a really good person. And but for me, as a smaller independent artist, I haven't had the opportunity to do something big like that before, and it was really emotionally impactful for me. I've done smaller things, that I can on my own, but
Sure.
to have that support from so many people, and companies, and from Alex, and all of those people that invested their money and bought one of the vinyl. And it meant a lot, and it made my heart really happy. And to, like, have an idea like that, and how all of these people will be like, yes, let's do it. And I just it was really nice, and I hope to that we get to do more of that, in the future.
And she's saying thanks to all of you that contributed and purchased. So
Yeah,
definitely.
thank you.
We're about to lose, well, maybe now. It looks like we're about a minute 51 before Zoom is going to cut us. Do you want to talk a little bit about Cabo Blues? Because I kind of messed that up. But
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that one a little bit, and then we'll pause, and then we're going to finish up the album, and I want to talk about her future, but go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Cabo Blues was another one of Alex's instrumental pieces that he released, and then I added vocals to it, and it was also kind of challenging at first, but once it clicked, it really clicked, and I was really happy with how it turned out, and it just has a completely different sound than anything else on the album, and it was really fun to write the lyrics for that one, and that one and Look Inside, I feel like I had the chance to be more poetic with the lyrics and um, have a lot more imagery and allegory, and there's just a lot of different pieces there lyrically that I got to play with, and it was really fun to sort of take a step into a different place and have fun with it, and um, it turned out really good, and it's one of my favorites on the record just because it's so different than any of the other songs, and um, it's kind of like sensual and has this,
Yeah.
yeah, like you want to dance to it. But I really like how it turned out, and and Alex played so many different instruments in that song, and like he's playing there's a banjo in there, but he reversed the banjo, and it sounds like a completely different instrument, and it's just like what he's up to in that song instrumentally is just so cool.
Okay, we're about to lose this. Let's see.